take a moment and talk about the hip attachment setup. The hip attachment setup is designed to go ahead and proprioceptively load you through your lumbopelvic region. I'll use this type of setup for any type of lower dorsal exercise or any type of cardiovascular training. Using one band to make it easy for you to see, I'm going to go ahead and just attach the band onto my hip. Now, if I'm going to do a lateral movement, for instance, because the band is attached to my hip, it immediately loads my hip complex. That's the beauty of training with bands. It's going to automatically load you where you want to be loaded so that you can go ahead and reactively train muscles. We're not talking about muscle contraction here, we're talking about muscle reaction. The band attachment around the hip will do exactly that. You can move it in different directions, so you can move it to here, but most importantly, the band should come about at the ASIS or right at the hip bones. If you get the band high up onto your abdominal area, it's going to pull on your abdominal area. Therefore, what you need to make sure is that where you attach the band into is slightly below your hip complex, so that the band is always drawing just a little bit more in an inferior direction so that it keeps it attached. The other thing you want to keep in mind about the hip attachment is that it's important, in order for the band to stay on your hips, you must keep some tension. When people are training and running, you want to make sure they don't come back too far, create too much slack that then allows the band to slide down their hips. Instead, what you have to teach them to do is stop when there's a little tension on the band so that then they can accelerate back out. Very important, otherwise people will become very frustrated because they'll constantly be having to adjust the band. If you keep light tension on the band at all times, you should not have to go ahead and grab the band, reset yourself. The other thing to keep in mind is, and very quickly we talk about this in the video, is that anytime you're transitioning, if you transition from this position and go into that, you should not have to reattach the band. If you go ahead and transition from one position all the way to another position and then back, you should be able to go ahead and do that without grabbing a hold of the band. Just make sure that you rotate towards the band attachment and then reverse that rotation back towards the band attachment when you return. This becomes really important for the shuffle movement type things or the turn and go movements where you come back. Always go ahead and de-rotate back the direction that you initially rotated. If you do that, the band will stay comfortably on your hips and allow you to train effectively without having to constantly reassess the band.